Hi, I thought I would read a story today about a bull. It's called The Story of Ferdinand. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. See, he's playing all by himself. He just liked to sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot in the pasture under an old cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with the other bulls? And skip and butt your head, she would say. But Ferdinand would just shake his head and say, I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonely, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she just let him sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. See how they're marked on the tree how tall Ferdinand is each year? Each year he gets taller, and they have to put a line up higher. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture fought each other every day. They would butt each other and stab each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked for the bullfight in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He just liked to sit under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men in very funny hats came to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bulls to fight in the bullfight in Madrid. Why do you think they're wearing funny hats? All of the other bulls ran around, snorting and butting, leaping and jumping so that the men would think they were very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting and butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him and they shouted for joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull, just the one for the bullfight in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight in a cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the bandoleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? It was Ferdinand. He was sticking his head out the door. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the bandoleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw all the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the bandoleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and his sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still, under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. The end.